All right. Today we're going to dive into a really fascinating case study that sits right at the intersection of psychology and, well, high-stakes real estate. We're going to pull apart how a truly brilliant, story-driven strategy can solve a surprisingly common problem. What happens when you've got this fantastic product, but it just won't sell?
So I want you to picture this, a gorgeous home on Alabama's Eastern Shore. It's priced north of $650,000. On paper, it's got everything going for it, but it's just sitting there. Days become weeks, weeks stretch into months. You can just imagine the owner's getting more and more frustrated, the listing feels stale, and the home's value just feels stuck. This is the exact problem we're going to unpack today.
So here's the game plan. First, we'll figure out why the old ways of doing things just don't work in the luxury market anymore. Then we're going to explore this really innovative solution, which is all about rewriting the home story. We'll walk through this three-tiered journey, get into the psychology behind it, and then pull out a super powerful lesson that honestly applies to way more than just real estate. Okay, so what's really at the heart of the problem here? Why do these incredible properties sometimes just linger? Well, a lot of the time, the issue isn't the house itself. It's the massive gap between just listing a home and what it actually takes to sell it in today's world. You know the traditional playbook, right? It's pretty simple. Stick it on the MLS, throw up a few photos, and basically cross your fingers. But today's luxury buyers, they expect so much more. They're not just buying four walls and a roof, they're buying a lifestyle. They want an amazing story, a world-class presentation. They need to feel an emotional connection. And that old passive, list it and leave it approach, it just doesn't fly anymore, not even close. So what this really means is, to fix the problem, you can't just relist the home and hope for a different result. No way. You need a complete, top-to-bottom strategic renewal, and that takes a huge shift in thinking, away from just listing features and toward telling a story that people will never forget. And this brings us to the core of the whole strategy, the Luxe Home Renewal Blueprint, which was developed by Tami Roberts. Look, this isn't just another marketing plan. It's a full-on renewal strategy. The entire goal is to find that home's unique story, the lifestyle it offers, the feeling it creates, and then turn that into a marketing narrative that connects with the perfect buyer on a deep level. I think this quote from the founder herself just says it all. It's not just relisting, it's repositioning with care, clarity, and creative strategy. That focus on care and clarity, that's the magic right there. That's what makes this so different from the usual, checklist mentality you see so often. Okay, so that's the big idea. But how do you actually do it? How do you make it real? Well, it's all put into practice through something called the Eastern Shore Luxe Passport. Think of it as a guided journey that takes a homeowner and their property through this whole renewal process. And this journey is broken down into three clear, progressive steps, or tiers: clarity, confidence, and radiance. Each stage builds right on top of the last one, and it's all designed to systematically transform how the market sees this home, taking it from overlooked to completely unforgettable. So the whole journey kicks off with clarity. Now, this first step isn't about flashy tricks or anything like that. It's about getting the fundamentals perfect, but with real depth and care. The goal is simple, but it's super powerful. Bring new life to the listing and create a genuine connection right from the get-go. And this is where you really start to see the difference. I mean, sure, you've got standard stuff like professional photos, but look closer. A curated Spotify playlist just for showings, a heartfelt letter to the next owner. Come on. These aren't just line items on a list. They are pure story-building tools that create an instant emotional spark that a standard listing just completely misses. Okay, next up is the confidence tier. Once that solid foundation of clarity is built, this stage is all about taking the story to the next level and really building momentum. It's the shift from just putting the home back out there to actively hunting for its perfect buyer. The tools here get way more sophisticated. You've got twilight photography to add that touch of magic, a dream buyer dossier that helps create these hyper-targeted ad campaigns, an audio-guided tour, or get this, a sun tracker map to show how the light moves through the home during the day. This is all about creating this rich, immersive experience so a buyer can truly see themselves living there. And finally, we get to the top tier, radiance. This is the big one, saved for those truly one-of-a-kind properties that deserve to be in a national or maybe even a global spotlight. This is about turning a listing into a celebrated event.
And the stuff included here, it really speaks for itself. We're talking features in places like the Wall Street Journal, full-on cinematic videos, a backstory of the home film. But my absolute favorite detail has to be the custom signature cocktail recipe designed just for the home. I mean, how cool is that? It is the perfect example of bespoke, story-driven marketing that makes a property impossible to forget.
So, we've seen the what, all the cool services in each tier. But to really get why this strategy is so incredibly effective, we've got to talk about the why. Because this whole journey, it's engineered around the psychology of the homeowner.
And here is the absolute key insight. You have to understand, this isn't just a menu of services to pick from. It's a structured process that's designed to create movement. Movement in the home's marketing for sure, but just as importantly in the seller's mindset. This table breaks it down perfectly. The clarity tier, it replaces that feeling of uncertainty that a homeowner has with a real sense of purpose and direction. Then, the confidence tier comes in and replaces stagnation with the energy of seeing visible progress. And finally, the radiance tier. It transforms the feeling of just being listed into the experience of being celebrated. It's a strategy for emotional transformation, plain and simple.
So, what's the big lesson we can all take away from this? Well, the key takeaway is really powerful, and believe me, it applies to almost any industry you can think of, way beyond luxury real estate.
Here it is. When the stakes are high, a generic checklist is almost always going to let you down. The solution is a custom-built, story-driven, and truly intentional strategy that deals with not just the practical problem, but the emotional one too. It's all about replacing a simple menu with real, meaningful movement.
So that leaves us with one last question. For you, whether it's in your career, a project you're working on, or even a personal goal, where are you relying on a generic checklist when what you really need is a compelling, intentional story? It's a powerful thought. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.